Evil Dead's at number 10. So this is from Andy in Barnsley. Dear frequent victims of current affairs.
Very good.
Finally caught up with Evil Dead Remake, for that is what it is. No so-called rebirth is this, for any movie that repeats verbatim the story from the original cannot claim to have an identity of its own. It made me think of an analogy. Now, I'm not quite with this analogy.
Okay.
But presumably some people will be. Imagine an old favourite punk song crafted by a band with no riches or record deal, with only their wit, invention and passion to guide them. They make a lo-fi classic that stands the test of time, which is then covered by a heavily tattooed death metal band. They replace the lo-fi charm with bludgeoning noise and excess, yet keep the same tune. That is Evil Dead 2013. It's complete control by the Clash, covered by Lamb of God. No sense of humour, no charm, no scares, no originality, no point. Now, I haven't played
I'm not across Lamb of God, I have to say.
They haven't made it into 2-day this week.
Haven't they? Are they not?
I'm not sure Ken Bruce is featuring.
They might be on EP on Sunday, if they've done something for a film.
Do you think?
I certainly hope that Elaine Page gets to introduce Lamb of God.
Download some Lamb of God. Yes. We'll pay the 69p per track.
That'll be great.
We'll have a whip round, just so that and preferably Lamb of God doing complete control, just so we can experience a song with no sense of humour, no charm, no scares, no originality.
But you can't sing complete control.
Lamb of God were referred to just moments ago. Andy in Barnsley was referring Evil Dead unfavourably to the original by saying it's a bit like Complete Control by The Clash, which is fantastic, covered by Lamb of God. No sense of humour, no charm, no scares, no originality, no point. And I wasn't entirely aware of the Lamb of God.
Although you are a music DJ.
Yes, but Lamb of God not. So
you don't listen to every record.
Front and centre.
You don't listen to every record. That's interesting, Simon. No, I'll just remember that next time.
So here's a bit of Lamb of God. This is a song called Black Label. My goodness me. Anyway, look, Andy from Barnsley, look, you mentioned it, and so we just thought, well, maybe there'll be some people like me not familiar with the oeuvre of Lamb of God, and so now we are educated. My goodness me.
My goodness me.
My goodness me.
You are definitely going fluff there. My goodness me, we're educated, not half.
Just before we talk Star Trek, couldn't you explain the difference between groove metal and death metal? Would you be the person to explain that?
Nope, that wouldn't be me. No.
Someone can.
Skiffle and Jug Band, yes.
No, I'm not interested.
Death metal,
in that.
groove metal.
If someone can explain why that was groove and not death metal, could you drop us a line? You can tweet at Wittertainment. You can text 85058. You can email mayo@bbc.co.uk and just explain what the difference is. That would be great. And we played you some Lamb of God. This was a highlight for a lot of people because they
certainly the highlight for you, wasn't it?
People weren't expecting to play Lamb of God on 5 Live. I don't believe they get a lot of radio coverage anyway. And then there was some discussion about groove metal and death metal. And we read out
the difference between groove and death.
And we read out other people's opinions because we don't have any of our own.
Because we're both old.
Well, we're just not particularly hardcore.
Because you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. School and the legend of the band is well hardcore.
Is the best movie ever. Alexander Milas is the editor of Metal Hammer magazine, and he's going to explain everything. Hello, Alexander.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, well, we're very good, thank you. We enjoyed playing some Lamb of God. How would you describe them?
I guess to the cognoscenti, Lamb of God are squarely in the groove metal peg, not the death metal one. Although there are similarities because they share a similar origin, there are subtle differences. Of course, I guess you kind of have to be in the know and be rather familiar with their work and just what their kind of musical ancestry is to appreciate the differences. And I, of course, acknowledge that to virgin ears, there's not necessarily a vast difference, but to people who are into it, there is. The thing about groove metal is it's mid-tempo. Unlike death metal, it's not necessarily atonal, and it has some very big choruses. And I should say, it's not exactly underground. You're talking about a Billboard charting artist. They've gone gold in the States and so on. So there are a lot of people who would also appreciate the difference as well.
Did you notice that was basically a polite way of saying the fact that we don't know? It's not because it's underground; it's because we're dim.
Yeah,
well, I do understand that we are massively out of touch
when it comes to this area of music.
But let me ask you this: can you tell me the difference between skiffle and jug band music?
Absolutely. I co-edit Skiffle Hammer magazine. So
there we go.
You need to know.
There we go.
So here's the thing, right? Would death metal aficionados kind of really dislike groove metal aficionados as wimps?
Oh, not at all. I mean, obviously there are different cultures. You're talking about different time periods. The thing about metal is it's been around for over 40 years. And so, you have people who grew up with one thing, others that grew up with something else, and so there's going to be friction between those groups. And the truth is, the same way that someone like me might kind of talk about jazz as an inclusive term, to someone who's really into it, they're going to ask you, okay, well, what decade are you talking about? Which musicians? So whereas there's kind of an applicable collective term for just like both kinds of music. The truth is, the differences are there, and they are noticeable. But you really have to care about those differences and be into the music in order for that to be significant enough to make the distinction.
Okay, whether through death metal or through groove metal, are there any songs in which you can hear the words?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Whether through death metal, whether you're listening to death metal or groove metal, yes. Are there any songs at all in which you can hear the words?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing, right? They are not indistinguishable. Obviously, a lot of death metal is characterized by those growly kind of vocals. The truth is, though, that if you listen closely enough, there are some very complex lyrics there. In fact, there's a lot of melody as well. It's simply a case of listening to enough of it where you can actually pick it out. Whereas in groove metal, because it actually has perhaps an even more bluesy kind of origin, there are a lot of clean vocals, as we call them, that are kind of sung like any rock band does. Great example of that is Cemetery Gates by Pantera, who are perhaps considered the apex of that world.
If you had to choose the best groove metal record of all time, what would it be?
I'm probably going to offend some people, but it's showing my age here. Cowboys from Hell by Pantera, I think, is one of the ultimate classics.
What about from the soundtrack of Saw 3, Lamb of God did Walk With Me in Hell? Mm-hmm. Is that any good?
It's a fantastic song. Actually, it's one of their groundbreaking ones. And I think it's what kind of brought it to a much wider public. Of course, you're talking about maybe 15, 20 years after the initial kind of appeal of Pantera was there and so on. And, it should be said that Lamb of God probably incorporate more of the thrashy and punk-orientated side of things than Pantera did. But the lineage is clear, and certainly Walk With Me in Hell is a bit of an anthem if you come down to a show.
Can you sing a bit of that?
No, what we're going to do, Alexander, we're going to play out
on Walk With Me in Hell
week with some Walk With Me in Hell from Lamb of God. So that's how we're going to finish the show. Alexander Milas, thank you very much indeed for explaining to a couple of idiots here about the finer points of death and groove metal.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Alexander Milas, editor of Metal Hammer magazine.
He was very smart.
He was very smart.
Very nice, very smart. And I did feel like we were just
the surprise in your voice. The surprise in your voice suggests that you were expecting him to be a bit of a duffer.
No.
I think it does. I think that's what you...
So thank you for imposing that on me. Right. Thank you. Because there's not many metal fans out there. Thanks for turning them... No, I know... Some of my best friends are into metal.
Is that right?
Well, unfortunately...
TV movie of
the week. I now live in a house in which there is some... this is the quiet bit. This is the shouting bit! All the time.
Is that from The Hobbit? That's what it sounds
exactly,
like.
Yeah.